Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Straight Talk. I'm your host, Bob Anderson. Well, I'm excited to get back on the air. We got a great show tonight. I've got a U.S. Senate candidate, and it's Robert Barnheiser. Robert, thanks for coming on tonight.
Thank you for having me on, Bob. I appreciate it, and I appreciate us having the opportunity for Straight Talk. What a great
we really need
name,
it these days.
Yeah, for a show.
There's so much in the media that we can't trust that. It's fun to have this, and I really appreciate this community access to have this ability to do this.
This is awesome.
This is awesome. These guys do a great job. So what I usually do is I just let my guest introduce himself a little bit to the viewers and tell them a little bit about yourself and maybe why you're running for U.S. Senate.
That'd be great. My name's Rob Barnheiser. I'm running for U.S. Senate. I grew up in California. My mom was a hardworking school teacher. My dad was a career military man. I grew up in a house where that was very sanitized, and anywhere you sat, you felt very uncomfortable. I always like to throw that in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's just a personal story, you know.
But, you know, my parents always put into me that to become a full, rich person, you need to give back to the community. So I've dedicated my life to do that. My first job out of school was minister.
Oh, okay.
And I did that for 7 years. A lot of people ask me, well, why did you only do it for 7 years? And I go, whoa, wait a second, man. You know, Jesus only went for 3.5 years. I went twice as long, and it's his cause. You know, and I think in the future, you know,
that's a good point.
I'll retire as a pastor again. I've also been a volunteer firefighter. I've been a scout leader for pretty much the past 20 years, and I've been a recreational volunteer coach for probably about the past 20 years too. You know, I have 5 beautiful kids and 4 bonus kids, which is a big family of 9. I just stepped down from the company that I started 20 some years ago, CEO, so I can campaign full time. People ask me why I'm campaigning. I guess we should lead into that. You know, this is the first time in a generation that we're not making as much money as our parents. Retirement is starting to become not a happening, but a dream. And the way we keep going, it'll turn into a fantasy and then just a legend. No one's retiring. And no matter what you did as my parents or grandparents, whether you were a milkman or you're a career politician or you're a doctor or a civil engineer, you retired. And less people are retiring. And now you're starting to see the 20-something crowd staying at home with mom and dad because they can't afford to go out and get a place. And here in Minnesota, we agree on a lot of the issues. They are taxing and spending us to death. They tax and spend and tax and spend. And even when they've spent all our money and they still have money left over, do they give it back to us? No, they spend that too. Minnesota is getting away from us. We're getting to the points where they are spending so much money that there is nothing left for me in my paycheck. You know, as being CEO of a corporation, I've had to make deals my whole life. You know, we've been through recessions. I'm billing more for the company than we've ever had, but yet I'm making less money in the last 8 years because of it. And this madness has to stop. You know, you would not run your household this way. You would not run your business this way. There is no reason why we should be running our state this way. So why am I running? Because we got to get people like Al Franklin or her new person, Tina Smith, who you know, had a great position at Planned Parenthood, which I'm not about. I think about the Hyde Amendment that says that you are not allowed to spend any federal money on abortion, except when it's for the health and security of the woman. But yet this is exactly what Planned Parenthood's doing. So I hate to get into the thick subjects right now, but that pisses me off, and that needs to stop. We just need to do what the law says, and this is what we need to do in Minnesota.
Well, I love your energy.
Thank you.
Robert, because this is part of the problem too. We've had a lot of career politicians. They are in government They haven't worked outside. I'm a business owner. You're a business owner. We know what we're dealing with every day, just like our president, Donald J. Trump.
Absolutely.
He knows what it's like in the private sector.
Yes.
So I am excited for somebody like you to get in this race because you've got the experience in the private sector. You know, you're paying for all. You face regulations. You face healthcare costs. You face all these things with your employees. But you've got energy too, and that's what we need. So how's it going for you so far? You've gotten into this thing.
Well,
Now what's happening?
It's been interesting. I never thought that I'd be a politician. As a matter of fact, Donald Trump is the reason why I'm a politician. There was a couple years ago that a person came to me and said, hey, we need some money for the Republican Party, and being a good Republican, I signed my check and gave it to them. And they said, you know what, we're doing a bridge demonstration. Will you help us out? And I'm like, oh, I'm not about bridges, but thank you very much. Yeah. 2 days later, I was on a bridge. And then I started putting it on Facebook. And then I had people like watching my Facebook and giving me support for that. Well, now Donald Trump's in office and we have the Senate elections coming up. And I was approached by many people. I was approached by a super PAC that I can't say because they haven't endorsed me yet. And a couple big people in the Republican Party said, have you ever thought about running? And I'm like, no, man, I don't want to be a politician. I don't want to throw my life out there. But the more I thought about it, I thought, wow, this is the way I can serve the people here in Minnesota and volunteer my time for them. And I'm finding out I'm pretty good at it.
Oh yeah,
you know, I'm good
I've seen you at a lot of
know?
events, and you always bring in some enthusiasm, which we really need.
I think one of the points that I need to make here, which Bob's running as well, and Bob and I have become pretty good friends from running, is that I'm a minority. So the minority people are starting to respond to me. They're starting to ask me questions like, what is it to be a Republican? A lot of people can't penetrate that. And and I'm going to be on the African-American radio stations and the Hispanic stations next month. They're giving me an hour of their time for me to explain my case. That, you know what? You love the Lord, you're hardworking, you're against abortion, you're pro-life, you're a Republican. No one's ever told you that. And I think it's good that they know that and know that, hey, they have someone that cares about them, that's passionate for them, that will also be representing them in office too as well.
Well, that was part of the reason I tried to get this show going too, because I was on those bridges with you, and these guys around here know that I was a huge Trump supporter. Okay. But they look at us, when Hillary Clinton called us irredeemable deplorables, that fired us up, and it fired up the country. Really, why would you say that? And why wouldn't the Democratic Party say, what are you talking about? You just riled up a ton of great people out there in America. People like you, people like myself that think, hey, we can run, we've got private experience, let's get in here and fight. So I'm excited for you.
Oh, I appreciate it, Bob. I'm excited to see where we're going to go with this. Hillary Clinton just did a video yesterday that says, hey, I'm still part of the Democratic movement, and I need you to get out there, and I need you to protest, and I need you to stand against the president. Instead of saying the responsible thing, support your president, he's the president. I did for President Obama.
Yeah,
he was the president. Exactly. And we're not getting that from the other side.
Well, the thing is, we've got two obstructionist senators. And Al Franken has stepped down. He was forced to, believe me.
Right.
So the other thing is we really need a senator that's going to work for all the people of Minnesota. Senator Amy Klobuchar has gone so far to the left. She's representing that because she had higher aspirations to become president or vice president. But we need to remember that when you are in office, you don't just represent Republicans, you don't just represent Democrats, you don't just represent independents, you represent the whole state. It's a statewide office.
And what upsets me with Al Franken and Amy Klobuchar is that they just rubber stamped the Obama policies, President Obama's policies. 95% of the time, just whatever you put in front of them, they just stamped it. And the thing is that they're representing small groups, clusters of people here in Minnesota. They're not representing the whole middle class, the whole working class. That's, it's not St. Paul, it's not Minneapolis, it's everyone else out there. And that frustrates me. And people think that Amy Klobuchar has a safe seat, so they're not taking this election seriously. And I'll tell you, Amy Klobuchar, I'm coming after you. You have not met me before. but when you do, you will not like it. I will take you down and I'll send you packing because we don't need your liberal policy and your liberal agenda anymore here in Minnesota. We're turning the state red and you're in trouble.
Well, Senator Klobuchar, I actually supported when she first came into office. She was a blue dog Democrat. And I liked that about her. In fact, we were on the same panel when I was fighting for the mental health parity bill. I thought, finally, we got a senator that's going to help push this bill. Well, then things changed, especially after President Obama got in. She took a sharp turn to the left. And that's very obvious, but she's so overconfident in this race that she hasn't changed.
And she's nowhere to be found.
No, I know.
Nowhere to be found. And, you know, I hear people say time and time again, Amy Klobuchar's done a great job. And I would say, great. Tell me 3 things she's done. Yeah. And they haven't been able to count. One person said, well, you know what, they're doing the sexual harassment policies for Congress and the Senate. And I'm like, okay, great. That was 3 months ago. What else?
Yeah.
And they can't say what she's done because you know what? She really hasn't done anything.
Well, she's taking safe stances. And the thing is, she's a good person. I mean, I don't think anybody in Minnesota,
I don't,
and she makes a great hot dish.
Yeah.
But I didn't like Obamacare. You know, I have tasted that. But and I don't like the obstruction of the judges that President has put forward that were really good nominations. And she was no. So I'm excited for you to jump into that fray, and because you're not afraid, you're not a mamby-pamby politician.
No,
you know, and it's going to take a wild card. It's going to take a wild card because she is a popular. Even with Republicans, there's a lot of Republicans. You don't know what's going on in our party.
You know, it was interesting to me because I thought when I ran as an outsider, people would be excited about that, and I really kind of, with some people, got the cold shoulder in the party where I actually put out my social media that I guess I'm going to have to start draining the swamp here. And, you know, I did a social media statement on what do you think draining the swamp means? And almost 100% of the answers was career politicians. Career politicians. So, you know, I'm not a career politician. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do 2 terms. 2 terms, one to figure out what I'm doing to get moving. My second term to be a force, and then I'm retiring. You know, we didn't have a lifetime president because that would be a monarchy, a dictatorship, however you want to say it. We shouldn't have it in the congressional and Senate, and that's one thing I'm going to repeal. I am tired of these congressmen and these senators feeling that they're entitled. A great example is Sheila Jackson Lee. You know, with United Airlines.
On the airplane.
Yeah, she boots off a teacher that paid for first class so that she could sit there. And you know what? She feels she's better than other people. She feels like she should have that seat because she's entitled to it. And this is how America starts failing. This is the problem. You know, Jesus came to serve and not be served. And that's the way I'll live my life too. Do you know, as a CEO of a company, that I never took first class? I either flew business class, but most of the time coach.
Right.
And when I landed where I landed, I never took the class A. I either took the compact, the subcompact. And the reason why is that I was making an example for the people that work for me that just because we can afford it doesn't mean we need it. Is it a want or a need? And that money that we save, seriously, with flying tens of thousands of dollars for my company, we can reinvest into better systems for my employees. We can pay my employees better. So first class, you'll never see me fly as a senator if I become one.
Well, that's it.
Never.
You gotta, if you're representing the average working class people, which the majority is, why not be? Like this is what we've learned in the private sector. You know, I work next to my constituents because we sit there and we work, we make things, I produce something, a product. And this is what's gotten lost. We got plenty of lawyers and financial people in Congress. We don't have too many from the trades.
Exactly.
We don't have too many from the ministers or whatever, you're cleaning or whatever. What is your business that you have with the?
We're a facilities company. So what we do is we go into companies and then we help manage their buying processes.
Oh, okay.
So just one company, just on their paper and plastic, we saved them over $40,000 a year, which is a job.
Exactly.
We do a lot of cleaning because that's where the money's left, and that's starting to shrink too as well. It's gotten to the point where I could probably work for a bigger company and make a better lifestyle for me, but that's what the big companies want. They
Oh,
want
yeah.
the little guy gone, and I refuse.
Oh, I know.
to
It
do
happens
that.
in our industry too. They're buying up. It's this big consolidation. Big conglomerates are buying up the small dental labs like what we are too. But you lose the customer service and you lose what you had there. So we fight it. You know, we're getting busier and busier because the more consolidation, it helps us because people like smaller companies that you can deal with and you get consistent results.
I agree. I agree completely.
Yep. So in this, how about the tax bill then? Okay, we've got 2 senators, no Democrats supported this tax relief bill. I mean, that's not going to be a positive thing for them to run on.
It's interesting because even though I am middle class as a CEO, people think that you say CEO and you got oobs of money. You know what? I'm not a Starbucks. I'm not a McDonald's. I'm not Target. I can't sit there and raise my latte by 30 cents. This tax break is a really big deal for my company. And we have already decided that we have frozen our income, so I won't receive 1 cent from that tax break. We're gonna put it retooling our equipment so our employees can work smarter, not harder. We are going to give out better wages. We already plan on hiring another 25 employees because of that tax break.
Thing.
And that's huge.
I know.
That's huge.
Well, AT&T, FedEx, they gave bonuses.
I saw that.
They're going to hire, FedEx is going to hire more. I mean, how could you vote against that and still think you're going to be popular when this campaign comes up?
And then lie about it.
Exactly.
You know,
Oh, yeah, the
getting 4
fear-mongering.
Pinocchios. 4
Fear-mongering.
Pinocchios.
Yes, that's
you
the
know,
worst.
We need some honest talk, straight talk.
Straight talk.
And that's why we're here. And that's why I say to you guys out there, if you are tired of watching your check get smaller, if you are tired of hearing about this congressman caught in this scandal, this senator caught in this scandal, please vote for me or Bob. Vote for one of us. We're outsiders. We're not career politicians. We want to change the way they feel about themselves. It's going to stop. When I'm there, I'm not there to make friends. I'm there to make the hardest deal for the people here in Minnesota, and that's what I will do.
Well, and I gained experience because I ran in the special election in Senate District 54, which encompasses Hastings. And my own party went after me. They were challenging if I lived in the district. They don't like outsiders.
They don't.
So I'm just giving you a heads up what I learned, and I don't know what my future is going to be, but I know one thing. I'm going to make sure that there's honest transparency going on, even in the Republican Party. And I see a candidate like you that's got a lot of background, and even more background than I realized, and you got the passion and enthusiasm, and you're the type of guy we need to take on Amy Klobuchar.
I appreciate
and
that, Bob.
get behind you and push because. And we've got to realize what I learned in that process is the endorsement process is for insiders. The primary is for outsiders. I honored the endorsement. I'm out of that race. But the only one that wasn't going to honor the endorsement was Denny McNamara, and he won. He's an establishment.
You know, it's interesting because when I came into this race, I have yet have one congressman or senator from Minnesota to give me a call and say what you are about.
Yeah.
I'm watching the established guys get endorsements from their buddies. So you got to ask yourself, why are they doing this? Do they simply not care that they're just going to hire their buddy or whatever? Or do they feel like they know better than you who it should be? They should be discussing this with you. This is why we have congressmen and senators. So they can say, what do you think the issues are? Who do you think is the best candidate?
Right.
I've talked with all these candidates. Have you had any congressmen or senators talk to you?
No, I've met a lot of really good people in the Republican Party, but I've met some that I thought until this last little episode I had, and then you really find out who your true friends are.
Yeah.
And now I know, because that was an experience. Sometimes you got to get right in there and fight, and then you find out in a hurry. But no, I've met some great people, but we should have communication. They should have all the candidates get together. They should have forums.
We should have
so the
forums. Yeah, have
exactly.
everyone on
That's
here.
how you do it, and you throw out the issues. I went to Angie Craig's open house in Hastings because Lloyd Cheney told me to go because he couldn't make it. Well, there were great Democrats in there. I met a lot of really nice people, and I met Angie Craig. She was willing to talk. I told them I'm from the other side. You know, I'm a Jason Lewis supporter. They didn't care. They welcomed me in the house.
It's interesting because if you're with the far left here in Minnesota, to be a Democrat today, you virtually have to be a socialist.
It's different.
I mean, what John F. Kennedy, one of the greatest Democratic
Yes.
presidents, was fighting tooth and nail for. And there are a lot of conservative Democrats, moderate Democrats that I really believe are going to lean Republican if they have the right candidate there.
Exactly. I agree. Well, the Democrat Party has gone so far away from what it was back in the John Kennedy days, because I grew up Democrat. My mom was 100% Irish, 100% Catholic, and 100% DFL, and you didn't waver. But she would not be part of the party, just on the life issue alone. Nowadays, So I think we can I'm trying to attract my friends from the Independence Party that I used to be in. It's the only party I was ever in. And I'm trying to, on this show what the conservatives, are all about and everything. But if the party isn't going to be on board with people like us, how are we going to sell it?
I agree. And this brings up the point of wasteful spending here in Minnesota. Let's talk about sanctuary cities.
Yeah.
Okay. Minnesota is in the top 10 they're actually 9th for sanctuary cities. Right now, we are harboring 39,000 illegal immigrants just in Minneapolis. And how much does that cost us? Cost us $118 million a year. That's something I'd really like putting towards our vets. Or towards our schools.
Especially when they're talking about we don't have the funds for this and funds for that.
Or the poor, or the hungry. $118 million spending out on people who shouldn't be here for the first place. Now, I'm Hispanic. You can't claim that I'm a white supremacist or something. But if you're not here legally, I'm sorry, but you need to leave. There are people that are paying and waiting years to be a citizen here correctly, and you need to be on that path. Right. So thank you very much, but time to go. We'll find a way to get you back, but you need to go.
And there is issues. I mean, when Donald Trump, he got a lot more Hispanic vote than anybody ever thought he would. And now we've got the DACA issue, and I had Rick Aguilar on, and he was very informative about it because he really knows the issues, And I encourage you to watch that show. But now that you know it too, this is going to have to come up with some sort of fix for this because President Obama didn't put it into Congress. He did an executive order, and then Trump ended that. So it's up to Congress to decide what they're going to do with DACA, and they haven't done anything. So what are they going to do? Are they going to solve that issue? Are they going to shut down the government? It's up to Congress now, which it should have been in the first place. And now we're going to see how they vote and what they're really made of, because a lot of times they just defer this to somebody else.
Okay. What's your position on the mass immigration that we're having here in Minnesota?
The refugee resettlement?
Yes.
Well, First of all, this has been going on for years, and it's been going under both administrations, even back when Pawlenty was in.
Right.
So why hasn't anybody ever talked about it? The only candidate I ever heard talk about it was A.J. Kern when she was challenging Tom Emmer, and then people started paying attention. Well, now they're all jumping on board. You notice that? But Philip Parrish, the governor candidate that I support, he knows the security issues.
I like Philip too.
I do too. He was on the show also. These guys met him. I think at least our congressional people should have been lobbying, and our senators in Washington, D.C., that since we have been a compassionate state and we have taken in more Somali refugees than anywhere in the country, it's not even close, we should at least be getting some of our federal dollars coming back to help offset the cost of education, health care, and all these other things that were absorbed. But they haven't done anything. It's like they're afraid to talk about it. Now they're jumping on board.
If I'm elected senator, I'm going to put a hold on that. I'm going to stop it cold. You listen to some of any mass immigration policy that's coming in and how it's wreaking havoc on some of the communities there. And what studies were done? Who agreed with it?
We've never had a say in it. It should
Nothing.
have been a
It just
statewide
happened.
dialogue to see what we're going to do about this, but it's never. Donald Trump brought it up at the hangar when he came in that right before the election. He says, "You got something going on. You've never had a say in this." And now they're talking about it. I'm glad you brought it up. You seem to know pretty good about it, too.
Yes, absolutely. And, I understand the Minnesota Nice thing, but as a politician, there is no room for Minnesota Nice. Too long, we've tried to be the nice, happy crowd, and we've let stuff go.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to bring it up, and I'm going to challenge Amy Klobuchar. I'm going to challenge Tina Smith saying, why is this going on, and what are you going to do to stop it, and what is the real Minnesotan want about this?
Well, and I did a show when we were down at the Capitol on May 11th, and Antifa and Black Lives Matter were attacking us, and we couldn't even get in our own state capitol. That's when I started thinking, I got to get involved in this. This is not the state of Minnesota.
Good for you.
I've got kids, I got grandkids. I want them to have the same Minnesota that we grew up in, and this has changed. And not one person from the DFL condemned that. And I was interviewed by the Star Tribune. I said, where's where's the DFL on this? And they said, well, this is freedom of speech. I said, no, it's not. They can talk here, they can talk there, but they can't block me from going to my own state capital.
It's hate speech.
Yes, it is.
It's
it was
hate
ridiculous.
speech.
And we just got to get back to Minnesota that we know and love.
That would be fantastic.
And I think it's going to take people from the outside to get involved in politics that are sick and tired of being sick and tired. And you're a good example. Philip Parrish is another good one.
Yeah.
You know, and we've got some good ones coming in.
I agree completely. And you know what? Having 5 kids and the bonus dad to 4 more, I want my kids to be proud of Minnesota. I want my kids to have a future here in Minnesota. I want my kids to be able to retire here in Minnesota. And the way we're going right now with our taxing and spending and our bloated government, it's just not going to happen.
Well, I think just getting this discussion going, and I think like we were talking about having forums, and I even told Angie Craig that we should have a big town hall, and she can talk about why she thinks it should be this way, and Jason Lewis can talk about why he thinks, and let the people decide. But they don't even want to do it. Jason Lewis won't even do a town hall. I would be a town hall guy. You would be a town hall guy.
I would love it. I would love it.
You're representing your constituents. That's part of the job. That's what you get. You get people out there that are sick and tired of being at their kitchen table complaining, and they're going to go out and raise the issues.
Well, one thing my friends would tell me is that a lot of people have great convictions here in Minnesota, but sometimes they can just relieve it with a tweet or a Facebook quote.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I am not that guy. I'm going to fight for Minnesota. My website, joinrob.com, joinrob.com. Please learn a little bit more about me, see what I'm about. If you like what you see, start following me on one of our social media skills, Facebook or Instagram. I'd appreciate that.
And then, so they've got your website on the lower third, probably, that they will.
Oh, fantastic.
And you can tell them exactly how to reach Bob and go right to your website because, and your Facebook presence, I see you out there all the time.
Yes, we have a wonderful Facebook, and everyone who works for me, is volunteer. They're about the movement. They're not
passion.
there for money. Yes. A lot of candidates are spending a lot of money. I haven't spent a dime towards salaries because everyone wants to be a part and they want to help.
Well, true passion is what really can make things happen. Robert, God, I've enjoyed this tonight.
Thank you
It's
so
a
much.
lot of
Thank you
fun.
so much for having me,
Thanks for coming
Bob.
on, and I appreciate people like yourself that are willing to come on. I beg people to come on. I'm done begging people. When I throw this out, this is a great opportunity.
I consider it an honor.
Well, thank you, Robert.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for tuning in tonight. Remember, if you want to come on the show, if you got any questions about this, email me at bobtalk22@yahoo.com. Thanks for tuning in tonight, and you'll be seeing this. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.